I want to start actually just talking a little bit about our partnership, which was announced today. Obviously, from Circle's side, we see this tremendous opportunity for yield and credit that's built around stable coins, and we want to provide a way for businesses around the world, for developers that are building fintech apps on top of our platform and on top of USDC to be able to tap into these emerging credit markets that are built around crypto, built around stablecoin. And first of all, I'm thrilled to be in partnership with you guys, but would love to maybe have you talk a little bit about both the partnership, and then kind of we'll get into a little bit of how that business has grown for you as well.
Happy to chat about it. And likewise, thrilled to announce the partnership between our two firms. We've been close as a company for a number of years, but it's really nice to kind of formalize the partnership via the announcement today. So Genesis, we're an institutional cryptocurrency focused prime broker. And as a business, we've been around since 2013 on the OTC market making side, helping institutions and high net worth individuals do large block transactions in various cryptocurrencies. And we added our lending business, Genesis Capital, in early 2018 to enable folks to borrow and lend crypto and US dollars and stablecoins, and create sort of a yield producing product and holding crypto a productive asset. Whereas previously you basically had to rely on price appreciation for any kind of gains. The ability to hold on to the upside while earning yield and interest in the meantime was a new element to certainly the crypto landscape, and right along the lines of, hey, this exists in traditional markets, I can do this and earn interest, why couldn't you create something similar in the crypto world? And that lending business has been very, very successful and kind of quickly growing, and we have over $1 billion in loans outstanding today. And about a third of that loan portfolio, approximately call it $400 million or so, is in US dollars and stablecoins. And as you might imagine, kind of given the popularity and explosion of USDC's growth, a large percentage of that $400 million is also in USDC already. So there is certainly a large institutional size demand for further USDC, certainly on the borrowing side. And I think it certainly makes a ton of sense to enable the holding of USDC to also be a yield producing product. And I think the partnership that we announced this morning about building various lending and yield creation products with Circle makes a ton of sense, simply because, and we just looked this number up ourselves, we've done over $3 billion of US dollar based lending since we started our business in 2018.
Yeah.
It's a huge number, and that number is only growing, bigger and bigger every single day. And so, really thrilled to be in partnership with Circle.
Thank you, Michael. I mean, it's been fascinating to watch the evolution, and clearly, as more and more institutional market participants get comfortable with, wanting to hold and utilize things like USDC, that fuels these credit markets, even further. And so, I think obviously what started as, people borrowing facilities and things like Bitcoin is now, the sort of stablecoin denominated two-sided markets that you're facilitating. That evolution's been obviously fascinating. I guess one related question is sort of, as a lender, what are the advantages to using a stablecoin? How is it a superior asset from a lending perspective? What are some of the benefits that you guys see?
Certainly. So as folks who are lending to firms like Genesis, and we're fortunate to work with a number of different partners on the funding side of our lending operation. But effectively, I view, and I think growingly, more and more institutional investors think of something like USDC and the dollar as being exactly the same thing. And given the regulatory status of USDC and its audited nature. And basically the company is kind of standing behind the product. I think there's certainly growing amount of confidence that USDC of a dollar is a dollar in your bank account. The big difference certainly is the availability of lending capital pool that is available in the crypto market today versus what might exist in other markets. Mm-hmm. And as you might imagine, the traditional lenders, starting with the banks, are not making capital available to companies operating in the cryptocurrency space. I'm sure that'll change, but that might take quite a bit of time. Mm-hmm. And as a result, the interest rates for those products are far superior and much higher than what you might get, certainly in the United States in a low interest rate environment, and certainly across Europe and parts of Asia with a negative interest rate environment. Where you are able to earn interest on an annualized basis, certainly about 8 to 10 times what you might be able to get in your traditional bank account, certainly is a meaningful difference. As one reason to think about, hey, why don't I lend this out in terms of in USDC rather than keeping this dollar in my bank account?
Yeah, absolutely. And for borrowers, right? They can, you're able to transact with them. You can settle a transaction to them very quickly. They can pay you back very quickly. There's no counterparty risk. It's fast, it's cheap, it's secure, works around the world. You've got counterparties around the world. So sort of some of the things that the prior guests were talking about, the efficiency of the medium is obviously beneficial for a lending operation like yours as well, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we have a couple different sides to our business, right? On the trading side, the ability to settle Bitcoin transactions or Ethereum transactions and buy sells instantaneously, 365 days, 24 hours a day is incredibly valuable to not have to wait for banks to wire. You do a transaction on a Friday after the banks close, you got to wait till Monday morning to kind of get your money back, right? And 48 hours is forever. Yeah. And so the ability to use USDC to settle transactions certainly is attractive. And on the lending side, there are lots of good uses for USDC on the lending side as well, not just for levered long plays to borrow some cash and buy additional Bitcoin, or get USDC to grow your business from a commercial loan perspective. So for lots of reasons, it's certainly an attractive instrument.
Yeah, that actually leads to the next topic, which is, as the fundamental thesis that we have behind USDC is that this is going to expand much more broadly into mainstream business, mainstream finance, mainstream commerce, that the benefits of this as a payment medium, as a settlement medium are going to be profound. And it's going to find its way into more and more, areas of the economy and use cases. And it seems like, kind of following, right on top of that are going to be, businesses that need capital and individuals that want to, take loans against assets, and it will, find its way outside of just taking loans against things like crypto and into other areas. This sort of expansion into other sectors, what might that mean for a Genesis?
Sure. I mean, the tokenization, the digitization of everything has been a trend that's been going on for quite some time. And as the world becomes much, much more of a digital economy, the idea of certainly digital money and a cashless world is becoming true more and more every day. And so for firms like Genesis, and certainly through our partnership, I think there's so many different creative ways we can work together to extend lending. So it won't simply be Genesis and Circle working to create yield-producing products. Sure. It'll expand the available pool of capital that is available to enterprise customers that Circle may have, and other merchants that have businesses that might conduct commerce in USDC. Yeah. And so I think we're only kind of touching the tip of the iceberg here in how the not just the partnership, but with USDC and its growth can certainly do for the entire business ecosystem outside of crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing obviously some fascinating growth and some really interesting growth drivers with just like this theme of dollarization and international customers who are using Circle business accounts that prefer to be able to settle in something like USDC, to hold value in something like USDC, to be able to make international payments in it, which have the utility of the internet. But a lot of these businesses are in jurisdictions where they don't necessarily want their own currency and if they're able to access credit denominated in stablecoin, or if they have short-term assets and they want to deploy those and hold those and generate yield on them, really, really powerful. Not something that is necessarily readily available to them within their regional banking system. So sort of connecting the dots on some of these bigger international themes too.
Absolutely. And I think our previous two guests, Oliver and Julian, we're going to talk about money market instruments. And I think there's certainly a future around, hey, money market instruments actually holding USDC rather than the fiat equivalent, simply because the USDC element might carry a higher interest rate than the fiat equivalent. And so all of those types of things around, to your point, the topic around dollarization, I think presents a tremendous level of opportunity, certainly for your business and the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, traditional banks not being in this space, whether, either extending credit to certain types of businesses or extending credit against assets like crypto. Obviously, we saw, the OCC giving guidance that, hey, banks can hold this stuff, they can custody this stuff. Once banks can hold it and custody it, they can lend against it. Those become, underlying assets on their balance sheet. So we may soon see banks actually getting in the game, at least in the US. And, I guess I'd be interested to hear what you think that looks like. And, how do you guys, stay out ahead of that as a prime broker and obviously as a sort of leading lending facility in the space today?
So here's how I view the world. Looking at just simple factors of supply and demand, where interest rate just kind of intersects, right? The demand for borrow in dollars versus the available supply of dollars, leading to interest rates that are, as I said, 8 to 10 times higher than what you might get in traditional, the dollar market today. If one of the big banks, or if one bank does it, my bet is more than one bank does it, is make capital available, readily available, at an effective rate to folks around the world in the crypto space. Mm-hmm. If that were to happen temporarily, sure, the supply gates flood, right? And interest rates might kind of come down. But my bet is that the demand for that even spikes. Mm-hmm. Because I do think if capital were available, that means the biggest banks in the world are making capital available to crypto. That is even further legitimization of the asset class.
Yeah.
My bet is that there's going to be more new money flowing into the space to soak up those available capital really, really quickly. So that the interest rates will back again naturally kind of normalize to what it might be. So I'm not necessarily sure that simply the influx in supply might do the demand. I'd argue the demand is going to grow multifold more than the available capital supply.
That sounds really good, Michael. I agree with you. I think that sort of next phase of mainstream adoption is a catalyst for even more demand, and obviously you guys are well poised. So, Michael, it was great to have you. Congrats, and of course, thank you as well for the partnership. We're obviously very excited about it and what we're going to be able to do together. And as we said in our announcement today, this is part of bringing stablecoins into mainstream finance, and looking forward to working on that with you in the coming years.
Likewise. Thank you very much for the partnership as well from all of us at Genesis, and really, really excited to come up with all the different creative ways we can come up with and create value for USDC customers.
Thanks, Michael. We'll speak very soon.